Yo, people. Welcome to the second class about emotional integration. And let's adjust the lighting just in case you want to see better. If I can press it, yeah. Start with the attitude of being honest with yourself. It's always a good practice to start being honest with yourself. Much later in this series of classes, we will study a concept called the three poisons of existence. Until then, I might refer to them in a simple way. Ignorance is a strong force. Basically, it makes us not want to face reality. Very simple. The first thing we do when we face a drama is refuse it. Like, no, that's not real. I don't want it to be real. So let's be honest with ourselves. Let's start with this feeling of wanting to be honest with ourselves. It's very simple. Like I've explained earlier with Visantara, whenever I react, whenever I have drama, when I'm angry or disappointed, there's a force inside me that rises. Okay? We have to be honest and admit that a force, an emotional force, rises inside and it applies pressure on our mind. So we have to start by being honest about it. Good. The three first masks we study are called denials. This is the class today. The three denials are pride, shame, and fear. Let's start with fear, because it's the easiest. When I give a class, I cannot really explain feelings to you. I can only hope that you have felt these feelings before. I imagine you did feel fear at one point in your life. We like to imagine fear like when we are kids and we're just afraid of a monster. But fear goes further than that. When we were kids, fear of the monster, fear of a bully at school, of a mosquito or a bug getting too close to us. The feeling of fear was obvious. Today, fear is not about bullies at school. Well, unless you're still at school. So we don't have the impression it's fear until we take a time to observe it. So fear is a feeling when we feel threatened, where we would lose something or be hurt. So yes, there's still this simple fear of violence, but it is also fear when you could lose. For example, fear to lose your lover through a conflict or through their death. Fear that your loved ones would be sick. Fears to lose your job. Okay, so fear doesn't always feel immediately like fear, like when we were children, but it is still fear. Okay, I can only talk about it, hoping that you have felt it. When I teach, I use words. Words are empty. Unless you understand the experience that I'm talking about, that I'm describing. Okay. So take a time to notice the difference between the obvious fear, like in your childhood, and the subtle fears that you have regarding your lifestyle or your loved ones. You see, there's a difference. The obvious fears of threat, that's obvious. Whoa, I don't want to get hurt here by, a bully or a law in the government or, a sickness. There are more subtle fears that we need to take time to recognize as fear. When it's about a change that we don't want to happen. Change of lifestyle. It can be very insignificant. Like you want to eat a specific fruit or vegetable or meat when you come back home, and you realize, oh, maybe there's no more. And that will not aggress you, but it is fear. At the most subtle level, it is still in the category of fear. I'm afraid that there will be no, fruits or veggies or meat or chocolate. If you consider an addict, I was going to say if you are an addict, but maybe you're not. If I consider maybe there's no more coffee and I cannot have a coffee today, the feeling will be stronger than if there is no more apples. Do you understand? So it is subtle, but it's still there. The more attached you are to a thing, the more it will be fear if you lose it. So it's even richer for your attachment to a loved one. The fear that a person would never be again in your life. It's the fear of missing something or losing. Okay, so that too is fear. Fear is not just about threats in your childhood or conflict. It's about any kind of change where you don't gain something or where you lose something. These reactions, these feelings, we usually take care of them when they are huge. And when they are subtle, when they are not dramatic, we discard them like they never happened. But the smallest fear about not having what you want, it is still in the category of fear. It is probably also a false hope that we'll study later. And if you complain, oh, there's no more coffee, I'm gonna miss it more than an apple, that was playing the victim because of an attachment. And fear is what rised. So when you learn emotional integration, you will obviously focus on the most important things, of course. It's better to work on the dramatic potentials inside you that emotionally handicap you. And those emotions that can actually affect your lifestyle. The big fears. Keep in mind, fear can be any subtle force that you're going to fight with. Like being afraid of a situation. If it's a huge dramatic situation or a mild little event, it's still fear. So it's about being honest with yourself and admitting, that feeling is fear. It can be huge, it can be subtle. Okay. Thank God there's coffee this morning. I actually slept very well, very long. That's good. So I'm ready for this class. Let's take a moment to identify fear inside us. Take a specific situation of fear that you have now. And if you can't find any, take fear in general. But if you can go specific, it's better. I personally am afraid to remain isolated another 3 months. It might happen, but it's a fear I have. So I'll be honest. You have to take a deep breath physically when you start emotional integration. And not an upper breath. You know, the upper breath is when your chest, your torso goes. Don't do that. Go as deep as you can in your abdomen. Breathe deep inside. And feel. Often the teachers would say, breathe into your emotion, to remind you to breathe. That is a mistake. It trains the mind to just think about breathing. So teachers, you have to use the word feel to train the mind into feeling. The goal is to feel. So breathe and feel the fear. You're afraid of something, and it's not necessarily a threat. It can be about a change or a loss. Some of us are afraid to become old. Those who are after their 30s, you see that your health is not like before. We do cultivate a fear that our health will become worse. Many of my students dream of healing miracles and the secret of immortality, motivated by this fear, because you see that your physical capacities are not like in your 20s or your 30s. We start to dream about a supernatural solution to just keep the feeling of being 20 years old. That need of a secret solution, a miracle, is motivated by fear. It is a fear that we're going to lose physical capacities, grow old, and die. Fear is a denial. It is built with a force that does not want to admit it is fear. So of course it will be hard to admit it is fear. Whoever is in the quest of a miracle, they are certain not to find it if it is fear that motivates them. Fear of death, fear of aging. So contemplate that. Fear refuses a current situation. It refuses evolution. It refuses losing something, losing a loved one, losing our health. Take the time to feel that fear. Fear will be a force in the abdomen, and some of it goes out easy and some of it stays stuck. It's normal. Take a deep breath and relax. All the masks that we'll learn, they are feelings. They're not just surface masks, they're also deeper than that. They are called masks of the ego as a metaphor, that the ego will use these masks. But it doesn't mean that they're superficial. The mask is what is shown to us. Behind the mask of the ego is what we call a potential, a mass of consciousness and energy charged with that feeling. That is not superficial, that is deep. And that mass of energy is what we can feel harder inside. It takes time to integrate an emotion, a mask, or a potential. It takes time to focus on it. when we consciously observe a potential of the ego that was hiding behind a mask, the potential of fear in this case, it will take an amount of time for us to contemplate the feeling, the emotion, the denial, and then it will loosen up and it will lose power over us. These potentials are not masks. They are not superficial. They are rooted inside us with deep roots. And these are the forces that rise and make us react without any more free will. These potentials, like fear, make us become angry or disappointed. It makes us fight against reality. Fear of growing old, of aging, is strong enough to keep us into a quest for immortality and for miracle healing. That could happen or not. We're not talking about this now. But it causes us to chase a dream. It is not realistic. It's a denial. It makes us refuse a situation when it happens. Let's say someone you know will not be a part of your life anymore. A friend went to another continent. A lover left you. A loved one is about to die. And the first reflex is, you can't be serious. You can't be serious is a force that feels. What it says is, you can't be serious. Oh my God. But the feeling is, I refuse that. It is a denial. It's just a force that says, nope, I will refuse it, so it won't happen. Like if denying a situation ever changed anything. And we still deny. The reflex is to just go in the head when there is fear of change, fear of loss, or fear of violence, of pain. No, I don't want that. This fear seems to be just a reflex in the head to think we need to find a solution. But it's a strong potential inside. It is a lack of humility. It does not want to admit simple facts. If you can change a situation, if you can negotiate with people, it is wise to do so. Please try to change it. But fear is not about a prudent negotiation. It's not about being wise. It simply refuses obvious facts. And you will try to fight. So this denial to refuse situation because they're happening, it does not feel like the child afraid of a monster under his bed, or a teenager afraid of a bully at school. That's why we don't identify it to fear. Because it's not an obvious fear. It is a force that refuses facts and wants to avoid them as much as possible. And that's why it takes time to recognize it as fear. Because it doesn't feel like an immediate threat. But it comes from the fear of losing something. The fear of losing your image, you're losing your source of love, your source of revenue, your source of comfort. It is fear. When you're afraid to lose a source of anything that you want, and then it is obvious, and you took the time to digest it, and it's too late, and you'll never have it again. The fear persists. It is the fear, I will never have this again. The fear of forever not having what you want. That is fear. It takes on many forms. Take the time to feel it, to be honest with yourself, and broaden, enlarge your definition of fear so that you can appreciate it, embrace it whenever it rises inside you. It is a rich denial. Let's go and breathe into it and feel it. To practice today, you can use a specific experience or just fear in general. It will work for the purpose of the class. Just feel it. Be humble. Admit that it's a force that operates inside you. Admit that it is a potential. Those who say they're not afraid of anything, they're saying they're not afraid of the monster under the bed. They're not afraid of the bullies at school anymore. Once you enlarge on the definition of fear, we will fight so we would never lose anything we want to keep. Fear is a great motivation for that combat. It is filled with attachments, with greed. And the first thing it will do is deny it. Refuse the facts that happen in your life. And it would also refuse to call itself fear. Oh, that's not fear. It's just like, I don't want to lose that. Yeah, it's an emotional force. It refuses. It's a denial. Very nice. Good. Take a moment to relax. In a class of integration, it will not be enough time for you to dissolve any fear. It is an introduction to the concept so that you can embrace it, so that you have time to discover it. It helps you get in touch with your fear, or with whatever mask and potential. So now we relax. You'll have to practice on your own whenever you wish. Just taking time to observe the force of fear inside you. To get used to it later today, this week. If you do planned seance of integration, to observe specific masks, and that always means to observe the potential. Potential is much more important. The mask is just how it presents itself. The potential of fear is the energy of fear. It's the force that can make us do things we don't want. It is what steals our free will. There is fear at your emotional plane, in your mental plane, and in your animal. Start with your emotions. Later we'll study the other planes. Okay? Maybe some of you will get it. Doesn't matter. Fear is fear. You want to get close to your fear. Become intimate with it. If you are about to put your hand in fire, the fear of that pain will make you withdraw your hand as quick as possible. So fear wants to care for your body. If you can be rejected by a potential lover, but you want to go and court that potential lover, but fear is afraid not to get what you want. Fear of rejection, it simply does not want you to get hurt in the process. So fear will make you not dare go and approach a potential lover. That means fear cares for you. Fear wants to avoid you from getting hurt. Therefore, fear also has a form of self-love in there. It's a denial, but it is not evil. It is simply unevolved self-love. It is immature. So it is wise to get close to your fear. Become intimate with it. Not succumb to it anymore. Not let it operate you. But be in touch with your fear deeply. And know that it wants to be a good thing. But it is not. It's a contradiction. Fear hinders your freedom. It makes you stuck and isolated. It keeps you in drama, in fantasies, in lying to yourself. But at the base, it's not evil. It wants to care for you. So always be close to such a good friend. Be intimate with your fear. Cool. As I was using fear to teach you about all three denials, we will now review shame and pride. Whatever part of shame and pride is a denial is the same kind of forces that I've already taught about fear. Shame is obviously a denial because it says, I don't want that to be true. In this case, it's about hiding information. To be ashamed of what you are is the fear of not being loved. So there's the obvious shame of childhood. When some of you have dreamt in your dreams that you were at school in your pajamas or naked. It's a dream we have as a child. That is shame about ourselves. When we are a teenager, when the hormones rise and sexuality becomes a thing, it's all new and no one really wants to talk about it. And we are ashamed because we don't know what's going on. And we're afraid to address the subject of sexuality. Maybe you have done something in your sexuality or in intimacy that you were ashamed of. Trying to kiss someone without permission, that's a thing I've done when I was a teenager. That's how I discovered I should not do that. I need to have permission. We all do experiments with our sexuality, and we will have shame about it towards others because we're afraid to be judged. Sexuality is just one topic. There's a need for us to feel accepted in the world. And if we do something against the rules, we will feel ashamed about it because others could judge us and be wrong. So connect yourself with the feeling of shame. Breathe into it and feel it. Take an obvious shame you had in your life about any topic, sexuality or rules or social standards, feeling not accepted, to have New Age beliefs in a group of fundamental Christians. It will bring shame. To love the feeling of meat in your mouth and have a lot of vegan friends around you, that could bring shame. Oh, it's a denial. You won't admit it. You'll say, well, fuck them. I mean, I'm a free man. I can eat whatever I want. But the fear of being judged by them is shame. We would call it fear, but shame is the force. I don't want them to gain an information about me. It's private, it's personal. I don't want to be seen by these people. So, shame is a denial where you hope no one will know about a thing. When shame is strong enough, you hope even yourself not to remember it. Let's focus on like it never happened. Let's put it in the past, move on. The things that you're ashamed of, it's a denial. You'll want to even erase it from your memory. But if you have not embraced your shame, the force of that potential is still there, and it will act. It will rise to protect you, even if it's not required. It will nourish the combat with the others. Like, hey, none of your business. You know, It will produce a cold with the others. Every shame you still have unresolved inside is a part of your wall with the rest of the world. And it is always active. It is permanently operating its purpose. Hide information and cut the contact with the world because you could be judged. So it's more than just a feeling that passes when you don't think about it. It becomes your subconscious motivation. It becomes part of your machine inside. So it's wise to take care of shame. Whenever you pay attention consciously to the feeling, take the time to feel it, that force. It will slowly dissolve. Embrace your shame. Forgive yourself for trying stuff in your life. Whatever you have been ashamed of, you never wanted to hurt anyone. But it did. At one point, maybe it did. You just wanted to be yourself. But it caused others to judge you and not love you. Now it combines itself with the fear of not being loved. The shame of yourself. You've had it many times. You just have to be honest with yourself. It's not just a little shame from your childhood. It's a shame of what you are. Shame of experiments you made before in the past. It's just you tried your best, or you didn't know something was wrong and you were judged. It built shame inside. So you never wanted to hurt anyone, but others were hurt, or you were hurt by the judgments, by the distance. So you have to forgive yourself. In shame, we must forgive. We meant no harm, but harm potentially happened, or really happened. You just wanted to live. You wanted to experiment. You did not realize an action was disrespectful or illegal. So you have a shame for these moments when you were just discovering. At other times, it was shame because of anger. Anger rose, made you say things and do things that had even worse consequences. So you became ashamed of expressing violence, shame of defending yourself, because you were loved less afterwards. Everyone became angry instead of just you. It nourishes the drama. So shame requires forgiveness, understanding you have to forgive yourself for not knowing something before you learned it. You did not know the secrets of life before they exploded in your face. You have to forgive yourself for not knowing what you ignored before you learned it. It's the process of learning. That's how evolution works. Of course, be wise, be prudent. Don't do the things that cause trouble in your life. Learn to master your anger and to respect others. But that shame requires your forgiveness. Forgive yourself in the past. Forgive what you've done. You were just trying your best. I hope this is a good introduction to shame. The more time you'll embrace your shame and take the time to forgive it, the more it will dissolve that potential of shame. Because the more you're conscious of a feeling, an emotion, a potential, the more it dissolves. And then the less it has force on you. And that means recuperating your free will. We practice emotional integration to liberate ourselves from all these forces. All right? That was a class on shame. Take a deep breath. Relax. Good. When I taught about fear and shame, I've been teaching about denial. So now I'm going to introduce pride. It's going to be very short, because part of it is the class on denials, and I've taught you in shame and fear, it's a force that refuses a fact. It doesn't want to look at it. It doesn't embrace the truth. And pride does that. So now we're going to look at pride. Let's talk about the obvious pride. When someone suggests something that you've done wrong, you say, no. It is the fear of being rejected. It is the shame, have I done something wrong? And it rises into a mask of facade, just no. It is a pure, blatant denial. No, wasn't me, fuck off. Defense, pure defense. Pride applies in many aspects. We don't have time to cover them all, so we just speak in general. Pride is what makes you want to have a good image. Because if you don't have a good image, you won't be appreciated as much by others. And you want to avoid losing your love from others. So pride is a tension inside that says, love me. At any cost, love me. You have to keep loving me. So there's a good pride when it's you proud of yourself. Proud of yourself is fantastic. Keep that. When you do a good thing and you're happy, you've done it, you are satisfied with the result of your work, and you feel good about a good action you've done, that's you. That's the good pride. Okay? It has a different word in French or Spanish. It has a different word, okay? But this is a good pride. The projected pride is the mask of the ego. When pride is just a defensive measure, love me. You are wrong for not loving me, okay? It can even become aggressive. But that masks of pride. You have to try to feel it. When the force rises and you're just hoping that the others will have positive feelings towards you, and you refuse that others will have negative feelings about you. Pride, I still look good. I've done good, so you can't judge me. Pride will want to hide any possible weakness that you have, in case it is a window through which people could attack you. A warrior's pride can be a good thing if it's a feeling of doing his duty, but it's a bad thing when it is to keep its title. I'm stronger than you. I'm better than you. Pride is condescendent. In order to keep its good standing, it will secretly want the others to be worse than you. It brings about a competition about your image in society. It will make you want to look better than another. Wanting to look good could be pride, could be self-love. But wanting to be better than another, you see, the fact that there's others, it's the competition. That's a denial. That's the projection. It's about others' interaction. Okay? If someone at work says that you've done something wrong, depending on who you are, shame could rise. Oh no, I've done something wrong. Or pride will just pure denial. No, wasn't me. Or no, that's good, that's good, that's good enough. It's okay. Instead of looking at facts, did I do wrong? Can I do better? I mean, can I evolve? Just trusting evolution. It's wise to use criticism as constructive comments to become better at something. But your pride will just refuse that you could grow. I'm already the best. I've done good. You can't say it was wrong. Just pure denial. That's an example of how you could be at work. Of just deny. Now, maybe in your social activities, your club that you're part of, your group of friends, your amateur club of philosophy, the Mahajriya, someone suggests you have not done a good teaching or you have not done a good integration. Maybe someone suggests your point of view is not good enough. Pride will make you say stupid things like, I'm right. What I've seen is right. I'm accurate about everything, always. It's impossible. You can become good at something and often be accurate, but pride will make you hide that you can always get better. Pride will make you pretend you're the best player in your team. It will make you think you are without flaw. And what is ridiculous, sometimes you know that you have a flaw as a person or in a skill you have, and you will pretend you don't have it just to keep a good image. I'll give another example. At your work, people are giving suggestions about how to do something. You give a suggestion After that, someone else gives a suggestion, and their idea is much better than yours. But you'll start fighting for your idea anyway. Trying to prove it's better just because you need to be the one who got the good idea. You just need to have that recognition after the brainstorm. You need to have that valorization of my idea is the best. That's pride. And it's so much a denial that you would not even admit someone else's idea was better. Save more money, would work faster. Your pride will make you defend your point of view, your opinions, your recipes. Your pride will make you defend your political party even when you realize some ideas in the other political party may be better. Your pride will make you defend your religion even though you see people in another religion seem to be happier and more functional socially. Like Christians judging Buddhists, saying the Buddhists are going to hell because the Christians believe they have to be saved by Christ, and the Buddhists simply don't need to be saved if they are not victims anymore. Pride will make us defend ourselves, so we need to be the best at everything all the time. Sometimes it will be obvious. Sometimes it will be so subtle we won't even see it. So it requires humility to admit mentally, but also to feel in your abdomen and in your heart. Am I just defending myself here from a threat that is not even real? Am I afraid to lose prestige if I'm wrong? Am I just being an asshole right now? Pride is not just a decision in your head. Oh, I'm going to look better and that's it. Pride is a force that we feel. It's a feeling. It drives us to ignore facts, present a facade, and fight mind to mind. And eventually, it can become physical fighting. Let's never hope it gets there. It takes humility to admit that our own pride actually brings more suffering. It is unproductive. It does not permit to see what is the most efficient way to do a thing. It does not allow us to see what is the better way to do things, the way to feel inside, the beliefs we have. Pride isolates us in a lie, hoping to be loved more. We become irritating to others, and we end up being loved less. It takes humility to simply admit when we're fighting in our mind against the truth or against facts. When we don't even want to take the time to consider what others say in case we could be wrong. Pride immediately refuses that we're wrong without even taking the time to evaluate facts, possibilities. So it's important to be humble with ourselves. What do I need to protect so much? My image? My love? My fear of loneliness? What is my true motivation behind my pride? What am I really protecting? The more heartbreaks we had in life, the more we have pride that will try to protect us from another heartbreak. Pride will rise and just with force try to deny facts, to stay the elite, the best, the good-looking one, the one that people love. And that wall will actually keep others distant and produce more irritation. The result is that we end up with more suffering that we were just trying to avoid by denying it. Take a deep breath. Relax, and you will have to work on your pride on your own time. You will have to work on your fear, your shame, and your pride. Practicing yourself at humility, at forgiving yourself, at embracing the truth. Practice this until the next class about the 3 emotions. So it will be easier to sink down inside and feel those potentials. The more you embrace those denials, the less power they have on you. And the better you'll feel, the more freedom you'll feel. The less you will feel in a cage in your life, the less drama will rise, and the more you'll be available to just see what you can contribute to the world, what the world can contribute to you. Keep a good relationship with people. Denials, they make us annoying to others. They make us arrogant. No one likes another person filled with denial, always hiding in shame, always defensive with pride. No one likes that. And this is still how we are. These denials rise. So work on it. Get better at recognizing yourself, being humble. Forgive yourself. Take long periods of time to feel those forces inside. And the more you take the time to embrace them, the more they will dissolve and stop rising. Only by consciously paying attention to these potentials will dissolve. It's the only way to get rid of potentials, is to feel them, to embrace them, to admit them. And once that humility has opened the way, we have to stay there and feel in a state of forgiveness. Take time to embrace the pain. And that pain will be released slowly but surely. Thank you for your time. See you next class.